monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal Tony. What's going on, brother? How you been?
Corey, what's going on with you, man?
Life is what's going on.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah. Well, we are back with another episode for Vampire Month, and I'm excited about this one.
We are. You're excited about this one. I'm
Lost Boys.
For this one.
Yes, Lost Boys.
Yeah, Lost Boys.
Well, so before we get started, just make sure that you like, share, and subscribe this. If you haven't seen Lost Boys, you need to pause this, turn it off, go watch it. I believe the only place that I could really find it actually streaming is Netflix. I think it was on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
I believe it is on like Amazon Prime Video, but you got to rent it, you know.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's probably the only two places that I know that if you don't have it, you know, at your house, like a hard copy, that's the way to go. But yeah, like I said before, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on our Facebook. Make sure you go over there and drop a suggestion for our suggestion episode, so that way we can get that knocked out. And I will be doing the drawing in a couple days, so make sure you get over there and get your suggestions in. You could potentially win a prize and everything else. So, yeah, that's it. So, Tony, Lost Boys, man, from 1970, or not 1970, 1987, excuse me. This is a film...
Directed by Joel Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher.
Batman and Robin fame. No, man, Joel Schumacher's he really is a great filmmaker. I mean, I between this and Falling Down, just these two alone, or those two movies alone, he cemented his place in history. So, yeah, but this is one of his. This is the early one. This is one of the early ones for him. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, for a lot of people, really, this is kind of an early film for them. It features a lot of, you see a lot of kid actors in this film that you would see in other films. You know, two of them mainly being, I believe, I know Corey Feldman. Oh gosh, what's his name? Corey
Haim. You got
Corey
two
Haim.
Yes.
Yeah. That's I was kind of confused there for a minute, but yeah, Corey Haim, who is your lead. But yeah, both of them are in the Goonies.
Yep.
Gotta love those films. And then of course, I believe Corey Haim went on. Did Silver Bullet come out before this or after this? I can't remember.
I think Silver Bullet came out before this movie. Yeah, because I think Bullet, if I'm not mistaken, came out in 1985, and this came out in 86. So
okay.
Or 87. So
yeah, 87. Okay. Well, cool. But yeah, I guess I'll jump into the basic premise of the film if you don't mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically you meet your main Sam and Michael. They're two brothers. They're kind of going through a divorce. Well, their mom and dad are going through a divorce, and she ends up moving back in with her dad, which is like in California. And pretty much, they moved to essentially the murder capital of America, as it's called, Santa Carla, right? Is that what it is? Santa Carla. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those weird names. But you know, soon they find out that there's like a coven of vampires kind of scoping out the area, or basically living in the area. And so Corey Haim, who is Sam, essentially wants to fight these vampires. He didn't believe it at first until his brother started hanging out with the vampires and basically becoming one, or like what'd you say, a half vampire, I guess you would say.
He's a half vampire because he can still be
Yeah.
out in the light, and he has
Stuff
so
like that. He hasn't fully turned yet.
yeah. I'll get into that when we get into that part. I'll
Yeah.
get into some questions.
So pretty much at this point, he's now trying to, instead of fighting the vampires, he's more or less worried more so about saving his brother.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a battle to save his brother. And it's there's a really cool love premise and everything in this whole film. But I don't want to. We're gonna tear it apart more so with the review, I'm sure. So let's just jump straight into it.
And it's a spoiler.
It is definitely, yeah. There's going to be definitely some spoilers. So, like I said, if you haven't seen this film, shut it off. Go watch it on Netflix. Watch your hard copy. Whatever you need to do, come back to us
wherever you can, and then come back and join in the conversation with us. So, oh man, so where do you want to begin with this one, Corey?
Well, I will say, so we talked last time. We talked about Fright Night versus this film. Okay. Fright Night was a film that you grew up on watching, stuff like that. I remember when I bought my hard copy, not so much the DVD, but the VHS. I think I was probably about 11 or 12 years old, and we went. I was in Kmart, and I was walking down like the seasonal aisle. And they had a shit ton of VHSs for like $5. And I bought The Howling, and I bought this movie, and then I bought Halloween 1, 2, like all the way up to number 5, I think.
Wow.
And then they were all $5. So I bought a whole bunch of them. This being one of them that I sat down and I just constantly watched over and over again because I was infatuated. It was such a fun film. And I've always been kind of drawn to vampire films, and this one just kind of sealed the deal for me. I love this film. So I guess that's where it started for me. And so my story is kind of similar to yours. You were turned on at a very young age to Fright Night, and you resonate more so with Fright Night.
Yeah.
Now, had I been turned on earlier in my life with Fright Night, I'm sure I would have fallen in love with it just the same, because both of them are really good movies, in my opinion. But yeah, that's what I got to say about it.
That's cool, man. Because I have kind of a similar story, and I wish I would have got into it when we were talking about Fright Night. But I found when I was younger, I found a DVD copy of Fright Night at Walmart in the dump bin for it's like $5 or something like that, or $3.70, however much the cheapest dump bin is there. I found a copy in there. And then brought it home. I mean, the thing with Fright Night is the thing that drew me in right away is that beautiful cover art that it has.
Oh,
yeah. Absolutely gorgeous painted cover art with the house and the vampire in the cloud, or the vampire silhouette face in the cloud, the blues and the color scheme. Everything just worked. It's just gorgeous. So it drew me in, and I can't say how true it is. Cover art truly will draw you into a movie and make you want to watch the movie. It'll make you think about what this could be just based on that one image. And it works so well as a marketing thing. And I wish that movie, when they release physical media today, that they would stick with that and go back to that, because it really does draw an audience in. And I guess they don't really care because a lot of people are streaming. I get it. But it makes you think about what this movie could be. And even when I go to Walmart today, or, nowadays, I still go down the DVD aisle and I look and see new movies that came out recently and look at the covers. And there was one that I saw recently that looked like a slasher film, and it had a cool little cover. And I was like, oh, this looks neat. And I didn't pick it up. I should have picked it up in hindsight. But yeah, I mean, it just draws you in. And Fright Night did that for me. And I picked it up, watched it, and fell in love with it. So yeah, it's just those little moments in time where you discover a film, and it's not like you expect to find something like that's going to kind of resonate with you, but you do, and it sticks with you. So yep, I mean, I had the same kind of thing with Fright Night. that you did with Lost Boys. So yeah, I just didn't get into. I wish I would have got into that when we were covering Fright Night, but we are covering Lost Boys, so I will get back to that. The cover art for Lost Boys never really drew me in, though. I like the red, but it's just I don't like the floating head thing. The floating head motif never works for me. Even with Scream, it doesn't work for me. I just wish it would be more creative. And there's so much cool stuff you could have done with the cover art for this because of the setting and all the vampires and how they look and you know, their vampire lair that they are in. I mean, so cool. So much they could have done with it. The boardwalk, all the settings in this movie are fantastic. I just wish they would have utilized them in the cover art, but that's neither here nor there. That's why it took me so long to watch Lost Boys, because the cover art never really drew me in. So it took me a little while to see it. I was a little late to the party on this one.
Well, I mean, there is a difference too, you know, as far as like the vampires and stuff like that between this film and then you know, Fright Night and stuff, which those are your two main.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that too.
Yeah, but there's definitely some differences, and even like you said, the cover art again. Yeah, the cover art for Fright Night is really good. Not so much with Lost Boys, but you know, it is what it is.
I will give them credit; they did go with a painted look, so at least it's not like a photorealistic depiction of the actors and stuff like that. So that is cool. The floating head thing, I just wish they would retire it. I know they're trying to market the cast and everything like that, but it just, especially a cast like this, like, I mean, you got the two Coreys who were huge at this time. You got Kiefer Sutherland in here. I mean, just big.
He was pretty popular around that time period, you know, because I think he was in Flatliners, stuff like that. But when did Flatliners come out?
In the 90s.
Okay, that was 90s, but even still, he was coming out around that time, though. I would say. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is kind of a hidden gem with that, you know, cover art, because, you know, even like, you know, we've talked about, you know, where we walked around in the movie stores and movie rental places, and, you know, that cover art resonates with me. I remember, you know, we talked about Dead Alive. That always kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
You know, I would walk around, I would see that cover every time. There was another one actually that I used to see a lot when I went into like the movie places. Night of the Living Dead or Return of the Living Dead Part 3. I would always see that cover art and I'm like, God, fuck, that looks cool, you know?
I agree. I fully agree with you. But I will say, I just want to say, going into this film, I think that the opening to this film, the first 20 minutes of this film are pure brilliance, man. I think it's some of the best opening, or one of the best openings to any horror film. It's wonderful. Everything's perfect. I love when the credits are rolling and you hear the song "People Are Strange." When you're a stranger, they're playing that song over the credits, and then you're seeing all the people of Santa Clara, and you see the punks, and you see it just all aspects of life, all walks of life in this town, this boardwalk town in California. It's just so cool, man. Everything opening is just brilliant to this movie. Brilliant. I think it's fantastic. Even going into the amazing sequence where you have Tim Capello on the saxophone singing "I Still Believe." That, I mean, leading up to that, everything about that is just awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Pure entertainment, pure 80s bliss, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really loved, because I even picked up on something that I'd never really picked up on before, was the missing persons pictures that was flashing up constantly.
Yeah.
And you know, and then like, you know, as they're driving through, you're seeing all, like, again, like you said, all the punks and stuff, and you know, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, this is kind of one of those films that you kind of deem coastal horror, right?
Yeah, totally. I never made that connection before, but yeah, it definitely is, man.
Yeah.
And you really feel it when they get into their lair. which is right there on the water. I mean, it's really cool, and where their lair is and how it looks and how it's set up and just the set design in this movie is fucking fantastic too, man.
Yeah.
I can't get enough about it.
Well, this film also kind of resonates with me a little bit because, like, me being I'm from Florida, and like we would visit like the pier in Miami, we would visit the boardwalk in Daytona and stuff. And honestly, the Santa Carla reminds me of Daytona Beach, like, and you're walking through boardwalks and stuff, and there's companies that make T-shirts all over the place. There's novelty shops all over the place, and then that you'll have like your random ass arcade, and you'll even have like stages on the beach and stuff where concerts are being performed. And then there's like even like well, I don't know how it is these days, but there used to be like comic book shops and shit like that on the boardwalk and everything. And it's like, this reminds me, like the scene where Sam and Michael are kind of venturing off from one another because Michael's chasing ass at this point. But and then Sam bumps into the Frog Brothers at the shop, and I was like, man, this whole scene reminds me of like my childhood. I guess that's why this film really resonates with me.
Absolutely,
because we would the beach life, we would go and go see those places and stuff like that. So
well, we'll get into that when we get into that too. There's so much to talk about with this movie. Tons. I love when they meet the grandpa. The grandpa's great in this movie.
He's awesome.
He is just the best. He's the coolest grandpa. I mean, and even, you know what? I noticed something about Fright Night and Lost Boys. Two of the coolest moms ever. I mean, just nonchalant. Great moms, but like, they're so sweet and they're so genuine, and there's so much to appreciate about these two performances from the two moms in Fright Night, of course, and Lost Boys. I mean, just Diane Wiest is fantastic. I mean, she's great. So, I mean, there's a reason she did win an Oscar. So, I mean, I look at the scene when Michael first starts going through his changes and he's coming back to the house early, and she's sitting there on the deck of the house, and she's waiting on him, and he comes strolling in with his glasses on, and it looks like he's been partying and doing just heinous shit all night. And she stops him. She's like, "Hey, aren't we friends?" And he's like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, let's sit down and talk like friends." And it's just like little moments like that. She's just such a sweet person and such a gentle soul. I mean, like I said, I appreciate the two moms in both these films. There's a commonality there, so I just throw that out there. But the grandpa's lines are so good. I mean, just
all the way down to the last line of the film is just
all the way down to the last line of the film.
Yeah, I really love the scene where he's like, all right, well, he's talking to Sam, and he's like, hey, gonna take the car into town. They go into the garage. They fire up the car. They get in the car. They fire it up. And then he's like, all right, well, let's go to town. And then he turns the car off and gets out. And he's like, you coming? He's like, we're just in the car. And he's like, oh, that's about as close as town as it's going to get.
Yeah. He doesn't see the car. And I like the part with the TV guide part. He's like, well, the TV guide comes in. I know you're gonna get tempted to pull off the sticker, but don't pull off the sticker. And then Sam's like, "Oh, you got TV guides? That means you have a TV?" No, he's like, "I don't have a TV." He's like, "I read the TV guides. That's good enough for me."
He's like, if you got a TV guide, you don't need a TV.
Yeah, just, I mean, and then when he's going through the rules of the house, and he goes to the refrigerator. And he's like, what do you say? Second shelf is my shelf. Don't mess with anything on the second shelf. He's like, this is where I keep. He's like, this is where I keep my cookies, my Oreo cookies. I'm like, who puts Oreo cookies in the refrigerator?
He was like, this is where my root beer and Oreos are.
Yeah.
And the door on it said something like "old fart shelf" or something.
Art stuff. Yeah. So he's great, man. He keeps the
I really loved it when he kept like bringing in the fucking taxidermy shit and setting it in the kid's room.
which there's a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
With what he's doing, yeah, there's a lot to say about that with Sam's character, but we'll get into that, I guess, when we get in that.
Mhm.
Into that, there's like I said, man, there's a lot to talk about and contextualize in this movie.
Oh yeah.
But I still believe that whole sequence is still one of my favorite sequences, man. It's just so cool.
Mhm.
It's the party, the atmosphere. There's fucking punks going crazy in the crowd, and just people loving it and just enjoying it. All, like I said, all walks of life are
Mhm.
right there, boardwalk, enjoying the show. And it's just a cool badass
Tim
song.
Capella's got his shirt off.
Got his shirt off. He's fucking playing the saxophone. He's got his hair. It's magnet. It's amazing.
Magical.
It's amazing. You can't say that it's not amazing.
You know, I actually am a little kind of upset because we had an opportunity to go to like a Mad Monster party where he was, and he actually played that song. He actually whipped out his saxophone. I think he even took his shirt off.
Probably.
And
I don't think he
played
can
that song.
perform without his shirt on, or with his shirt on.
Yeah.
Which
Hey, I mean, if you got
but
that hair,
I heard he was Tina Turner's saxophone player for her band, which I thought was cool.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think I heard that, which is really neat. But yeah, dude, that whole sequence was fucking absolutely amazing.
It was you know, it captured a moment of the 80s, you know.
It's like a time capsule.
Because like nowadays, I mean, I don't know who would go to the beach and watch a guy playing a saxophone
with a band. I mean, it's
yeah.
killer.
Well, actually, and so kind of a little sidetrack for a minute. I'll have to actually figure out the name of the band, but Kyle, you know, one of our listeners and one of my coworkers, he actually turned me on to like this band from like Finland or something. It is truly a metal band. They are a metal band, and they speak some foreign language. Can't really understand what they're saying. He does speak English when he's singing though. But they have a saxophone player in the metal band, and it's like, okay, can't get much better than that, I guess.
Yeah, there's another band. There's another band. It's an American band called Rivers of Nile. I don't know if they have a true saxophone player in their band, but a couple of songs that I've heard from them feature the saxophone, which is pretty random. But songs are fucking killer. But
yeah, I mean, it almost sounds out of place a little, but it works. It's weird,
right? Well, with their sound and stuff like that, the way they play, it blends in seamlessly. It's weird. It really is, because like you wouldn't expect it to do that, but it does. I don't know. It's like I said, very bizarre, but it's very real. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a true saxophone player like listed. I don't think they do listed in the band, but they have a guy come in on a couple songs and play, and it's pretty remarkable. But yep, there's the thing about this movie. Okay, so I think this is one of the first movies where you have it doesn't follow like the Dracula formula where you have a centralized vampire.
Yeah.
We'll get back into that at the end, but you have a gang of vampires at this point, which is really unique, especially around this time. But the vampire gang is so fucking cool. Like, they're just cool, man. Like Kiefer Sutherland, he's the leader, and man, dude, these guys are fucking badass, man. They ride around on the beaches on their dirt bikes, and they raise hell, and they fuck around, and they're just so cool, dude. Like you.
Well, I mean, they're typical what you would see, you know, not early 80s, because this is late 80s, obviously, but you know, this is typical for what you would see. There would be a rough crowd somewhere, you know, a young group of kids who are rebellious and, you know, just living for themselves, you know, and just having a blast, living life, having fun and destroying, a little destructive, I guess you would say.
Raising pure hell. I mean, just at every turn that they can.
So when we were talking about the opener of the film, the part that resonates with me with the opener is that scene where they're on the carousel.
Yeah.
You know, and that right there, it's like you meet them right away, and you see who they are. They're the kind of the rough bunch of the crowd. They're like I said, rebellious kids. That's what they are.
Yeah.
You know, and then they kind of get shooed away. You know, they were told not to be there anymore, and what's David, right? That's his name, the leader.
David
Sutherland. Yeah. David's kind of like, you know, okay, boys, let's go. And then they later on have a big meal with that big security guard.
Yeah. Which I love. He's trying to open up his door, but he keeps bumping into his door. Like,
I noticed that. Yeah, like I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Why is he slamming himself into the car? It's weird.
It's weird.
So I really loved that sequence as well, because I really loved those aerial shots. It was like it was giving the audience the notion, because you didn't actually ever see them fly.
Yeah.
But I mean, you see Michael later on kind of float out his window by accident, because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing at the time. You know, but the scenery shots where they were just kind of swooping in and flying over Santa Carla was pretty cool looking.
You know what it reminded me of? When I saw that scene, first thing I thought of was Suspiria. When the blind piano player is attacked in that like town hall by the witches, you never see the witches actually flying. You see silhouettes, and you see like the camera zoom and all that shit. That's what it reminded me of. I thought about that when I was watching it this time. Man,
interesting.
First thing that popped into my mind. Of course, those are witches. These are vampires. Completely different, but still, at the end of the day, I mean, you have them flying and attacking, and that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, it could have been taken from Suspiria, you know?
You never know.
Because, I mean, you know, like, for instance, like that infamous scene that Spielberg does in Jaws, you know, I was told that, you know, I was watching like a documentary on Jaws, and that scene where the camera zooms in and out at the same time on Chief Brody.
Yeah.
That same camera effect was done by Alfred Hitchcock.
No,
So,
I mean, everybody was influenced by Hitchcock, so everybody's.
But I mean, two different types of films there, so, and it's just what works, you know, in the moment, and I thought that really worked for this film.
Absolutely, man. Everybody takes a little part of everybody else's style. I mean, just it's always just a borrowing of styles in Hollywood, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if that's the case. That's what it reminded me of. Sometimes a movie will pop into my head while I'm watching a movie, and that just happened to be the case in this situation. But man, oh, dude, all right. So where as far as characters, let's go off on a little thing. As far as characters, your favorite characters in the movie. Who would you say are your favorite characters?
That's a tough one. I really like Michael.
You like Michael? Okay.
I like Michael. And I like David too, I guess you would say.
Okay, David. Yeah, David's cool.
He really is. Yeah, exactly. I really don't think that they could have got a better actor for that role.
Yeah, he slayed it.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get into that part where we're talking about where I was kind of mentioning he's a master manipulator.
We could talk about that, because that's where I'm going with it. And that scene.
That scene, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which we find out later at the end, that's part of the lore of these vampires. So they mess with the lore of vampires a little bit in this movie, which is pretty ballsy, but it also was really, really neat.
Yeah.
as far as like somebody that's turned that hasn't. So basically, to become a full vampire, you have to make your first kill, and that's why Michael is struggling to fight his urges, and he's not fully a vampire yet because he's still walking around during the daylight. He's still not falling into the cliches of being a vampire because he hasn't made his first kill, and he kind of refuses to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to give in to this lifestyle because he was basically manipulated and tricked into this. By that brilliant scene in the lair where they have the Chinese food, and David keeps telling him, he's like, well, here you go, it's rice. Oh, he's like, okay. And then he's like, how are you enjoying those maggots, Michael? And he's like, and he's sitting there eating, and he looks, and there's actually maggots in the case. And he flips the fuck out, and he throws it down. He's like, oh, dude, what the fuck? Like, that's not cool. And then he's like, here, try the noodles or the lo mein, and then he grabs the noodles, and he's like, they're worms, Michael. And then he looks down, and they're actually worms in there. So he's breaking him down psychologically.
Well, it's straight like trickery.
It's straight trickery, yeah, because we find out based on this vampire lore that vampires can make you see things that they want you to see. Apparently, they fuck with your mind and make you see things that aren't there or that aren't in actuality, but they're pulling like literally the wool over your eyes and mind gaming you and tricking you. So, which I never really picked up on in this movie before, but watching it this time, really studying it and studying certain scenes and stuff like that, I finally realized that that's part of their lore in this movie. So, really, really neat, really, really cool. I love when a vampire film messes with the lore a little bit. I think it's pretty cool. It's unique, especially for this time in 80s, the late 80s, because you have like we were talking a little bit earlier about everybody follows, even Fright Night, for as much as I love it, followed that formula of a centralized vampire, a Dracula, if you will, which Jerry Danders was basically the Dracula of that movie.
And that's what I told you kind of turned me off a little bit was Fright Night kind of fell in that. It almost seemed like it was like the same storyline as Dracula a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I can see that. Yeah, totally, 100%. I can see that. And in this movie, they don't do that necessarily. They focus in on the group or the gang of vampires instead, which is to the film's credit. I mean, they do it so well, and they hold on these characters because these characters are very well. So basically, when they were writing the script of this movie, the original script, and I'm so glad Joel Schumacher got involved, because originally what they wanted to do was like a Peter Pan PG kid vampire film. And when Joel Schumacher got on board, he said, fuck that shit. He's like, I'm not doing no kiddie ass Goonies meets vampires. I want to do like teenage vampires that are cool and badass and they're a gang and this is. So he made all those changes, and he made changes to the music. Thank God for Joel Schumacher. This movie could have been very forgettable.
Yeah.
A PG-13 kid vampire film. I mean, I'd much rather take a rated R vampire flick than that. I mean, thankfully Joel Schumacher got involved and directed this movie, or we wouldn't have nearly as much memorable stuff as I can imagine as we do in this movie. So glad he got involved. He changed up the lore a little bit because it was originally supposed to be Peter Pan, like in the Neverland kid, like the kids and stuff like that, and they're young, they're vampires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as punk as it is, and as as I don't know. It's so anti-establishment. It's like a punk movie.
It's rebellious. It is.
Man.
This whole film is, even down to the lore. You know, it rebels against the
norm. Yeah.
The norm of vampire lore.
Yeah. I mean, they keep basic principles still, like the stake through the heart. They do that. I mean,
yeah.
It's still stuff that they keep, but the garlic and all that shit, like when they're messing around with that. But like as far as what the vampires can do, their
Yeah.
strengths and their weaknesses, what they can manipulate people and this and that. That's they keep you have to invite a vampire into your house for a vampire to actually come into your house. They keep that.
Yeah.
They keep that aspect too. So
I
there's
love that. I love that whole scene because they're expecting what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Oh gosh. The boyfriend of the mom, I guess you would say.
Max. Yeah.
Max, thank you. That's it, Max. Yeah, yeah. I really liked Max. I really liked how he was portrayed.
Yeah.
And stuff. So that was really neat. The whole thing was neat. But yeah. Even like when they were testing him to find out if he was a vampire and stuff. So Sam invited the Frog Brothers over and
Favorite characters of the movie. The Frog Brothers are the coolest fucking.
they are a trip.
characters.
Even
They're
though for some reason still Corey Feldman was kind of aggravating. Not so much in this film as he is in other films, but
dude, I love how fucking serious and stoic they are the whole time. They do not break character. They stay as completely razor straight as possible the whole time in this movie. They don't joke around. Really.
Well, I think that I think they're straightforward like comic book nerds who are infatuated with vampire comics to the point where they're like, "Oh yeah, we're hunters. We're vampire hunters," but they've never hunted a vampire a day in their life. So when they're put into the shit, they're like, "Oh my god, we're really doing this."
They seem to not they didn't seem to break character too much when they were actually like hunting the vampires and stuff like that. They seem to be pretty like level-headed and stuff like that still, even though this might have been their first time actually doing the deed and hunting the vampire. But dude, they are so fucking funny, man. Like I love how serious they are the whole fucking time. Like especially Feldman, man. He is just a treasure, dude. We love some Corey Feldman, man. We love the Coreys. I love Corey Haim too. I mean, A License to Drive is still one of my favorite. I love that movie so fucking much. So
I really wish I could have met Corey Haim.
Oh man, dude,
that would have been awesome.
They're like I said, they're very like nostalgic for me because I remember seeing License to Drive at a really young age. So that movie resonates really, really well with me. But yeah, did you realize that that Jason Patric, like the guy that played Michael, you know who his father is? Mm-mm. So his father is Jason Miller, Jason Miller, who plays Father Karras in The Exorcist.
Wow,
crazy shit, right? Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
There's a little bit of horror royalty in this. There's some lineage here.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
I kind of want to find some more movies that he was in because he's actually a pretty decent actor.
No, he's really good, and him and Star, Jamie Gertz, the girl that plays Star, they have great chemistry in this movie.
They really do.
It's really intense between them. Really intense between them when they're speaking to each other and they're talking to each other. It gets really, really heavy and stuff and intense, and you can tell that these two have great chemistry.
Yeah, that like and like you and I are similar when it comes to this, I think, because like in a horror film, kind of romantic, like I wouldn't say romantic, but like romance in a horror film kind of bums us out a little, I think.
When they play it up like that, it kind of.
But this didn't feel that way at all. Like it's. You can tell there's a spark between the two, but it's not overly done. It's not Twilight.
Oh God! Well, that's the one detriment to this movie is that a lot of people consider this the reason why we have movies like Twilight and I'm gonna
get into that.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what your thoughts on that because there is a scene when one of the vampires is staked and he bleeds and his blood is glittering, literally glittering because they.
I never knew this was a thing.
Yeah,
and the other day or a couple weeks ago, I was just kind of thumbing through TikTok, believe it or not, and somebody was like, is this a little coincidental or what? And then they were like, they're covered in glittery blood, and I was like, no, not Lost Boys. Are you serious?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna have to go watch this. So I watched it, and yeah, they are sparkling badly. Like there's fucking glitter all over them. I was like, damn. But to discredit, and again, yeah, something that somebody saw, they probably liked this and they wrote it in their novel, and then they put it in their movie. It's a done deal.
Well, I think the guy that did the effects, I think he did that because it was kind of a darker scene in the layer. So I think he did that to show like how otherworldly and how different like this blood is and how it would sheen and stuff like that. And I don't think they just expected it to well, I mean, when you're messing with glitter and stuff like that, you're gonna see especially when they're out in the sun, like you're gonna see the full on effect of that. But I don't think that was their original intention when they did that. They wanted to show it more when the blood's like pouring out of Marco, who is played by Bill from Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Alex Winter, which is really fucking cool. The other two guys in the gang, I don't recognize them. As far as like actors, I don't recognize them from anything else. But you definitely know Alex Winter as Bill from Bill and Ted. And
man, he's an ugly vampire. I will say that. Like
these the mullets in this movie.
Yeah.
I gotta talk about mullets in this movie. Holy shit, dude! There are some amazing mullets in this movie.
Yeah.
truly amazing. Dude, David's mullet is one of the, I mean,
it's top of the line.
Top of the line. You can't get better than that. I mean, that's wow. There's so much. So much.
I love everything about his look and everything. It fits him so well.
Yeah, dude, it does, man. The look, the like I said, the costume design, the set design, everything is fucking flawless in this. They gave the vampires this really neat look. They look like a biker gang renegade punks.
What do you think about their lair, like their coven?
I fucking love it. I love it. I love it, man. Yeah. I spoke on it earlier where I said I think the costumes or the set design this movie is brilliant. Even something small as like Grandpa's house and all the weird shit, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre room that he had, and even they commented on that in the movie, which is really cool. I love that they did that. Little things just really resonate and make it feel like lived in, and it doesn't feel like a set. It feels like an actual place, and
all of it is.
I think that's the highest compliment.
I don't know if the Coven is an actual place, but I have recently seen like video footage of where the film was filmed, and the boardwalk looks the same still. I don't know that there's a comic book shop there. I think that was just part of the movie.
I can pretty much tell you there's not a video store there.
No, I don't believe there's a video store there, but you do see the front of Max's house, that walkway. You see the stairs on the boardwalk where Michael had to drive his motorcycle off onto the beach.
Yeah.
I've recently seen video footage of that, and then I've recently seen video footage of the actual house. And it's actually gated up and abandoned. That's sad. It really is, but it's fully gated up all the way around it, and like it was. I don't know if it's abandoned or just not like habitable anymore, but it's still standing.
Yeah, I'm sure people that are fans go up to it and try to get pictures or try to get up there and see it. But it just man, the locations, the sets. I mean, just setting is just it's brilliant. It's great. Joel Schumacher really took advantage of everything that there was to take advantage of with the setting. And I just kudos to him for doing that. Man, there's I counted a lot of times Michael is said in this movie. They say Michael a lot in this movie. A lot. Dude. Damn, it's got to be breaking records up there with Halloween. I mean, just fucking amount of times Michael say what you're wearing, of course. So that fits the motif there. But yeah, what man? Oh, can we talk about the implied homosexuality of Sam's character? When it's subtle, it's very subtle.
Okay.
But they do that with so when Michael's in, or not Michael, when Sam's in his room, Grandpa brings in the beaver and turns it to him. He's like, "Oh, I got a stuffed animal for you to kind of tighten to really liven up your room and everything like that." And so when Grandpa leaves, Sam takes the stuffed beaver and puts it in the closet behind a Rob Lowe poster where Rob Lowe is very.
I noticed that. Yeah.
So there's some hints of it in there, and then when Sam's in the bathtub and he's singing, and he's talking about not needing a man and this and that, like, I mean, or I ain't got no man or something like that. He's singing the song and this and that, and he's taking a bubble bath. He's not a child. I mean, he's a child.
This is like a 15-year-old kid
like
taking a bubble bath and singing.
So yeah, there's a little bit of
it was odd.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, things are implied, and they play around with that a little bit. So
yeah.
But I mean, Michael is fully in a star, so he is like, man, from the very beginning. He sees her at the boardwalk when they're at the show, and man, he's just creeping on her, man. Like he's just staring.
I don't know. So my theory behind that whole situation, I don't think that he was so much creeping on her. I think she was creeping on him and making him see her.
Yeah. Think so?
I mean, she was a vampire. Well, was she a half vampire?
Half, yeah. Because
so
he was supposed to be her first kill.
Yeah,
that's what they said in the movie.
But she was luring him too.
Yeah.
Because you could clearly see that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. She was kind of trying to, but she was a ways away too. I don't know. It's weird because when you find out later on in the movie, that's one thing that confused me a little bit about the movie, is he was supposed to be her first kill, but that doesn't make any sense when you think about the grand scheme of things with the big plan. That doesn't really make any sense. You know what I mean? Because they wouldn't need for him to be killed if they want to bring the mom.
I took it different. I took it a little different. I thought that she was supposed to turn him.
Okay, I remember something about her saying that she
would
be her first kill, because he's like I can't make my first kill. He was having a conversation with her and freaking out. And he's like, I can't do it. I can't kill. I can't do that. And she's like, you were supposed to be my first, or something like that, or something along those lines. The dialogue.
Well, maybe that was. I think that was. She met him before Max met their mom.
Did that happen before? Because that happened pretty early too. Because she got the job at the video store pretty early too.
That happened pretty much like that same night. So if she showed up at that concert and she was being commanded to kill someone or drink their blood and fully turn into a vampire,
right.
She would have. They probably picked him out. It was just probably purely coincidental that it just so happened that his mom was falling in love with Max, or they started dating,
Yeah. Well, based on what we find out at the end, so that vial of blood that they're drinking, that had to have been Max's blood.
Yeah, because he's actually our Dracula.
Yeah. Right. He's the head of the vampire gang.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty cool. Did you see that? Did you see that coming? Do you remember the first time you saw this? Did you see that coming, or were you completely shocked that happened?
Um,
You might not.
given how young I was, yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. I just
No,
can't.
I mean, David's kind of portrayed to be the leader, and then, later on it's announced that Max is actually the dad of the whole situation, so no, I don't.
The actually dad of them, but I think he's just a father figure for them.
Well, yeah, and he actually says that. He actually says that he wanted to create a whole family.
Yeah.
He was hoping that she would be his wife. And they would raise their boys, as he said, So I don't even think Star was really part of the plan, because he said something about his boys and her boys, So he had a plan for Sam and Michael already.
Yeah.
So Star was just kind of there. And she, had a lot of baggage because she already had a kid.
Well, I think that was just one of the boys. See, that's another thing. That little boy that was with them, they turned the little boy that she had nothing to do. She was just protective of the little boy because he was a little boy.
Yeah, there's a scene that's hilarious. I fucking crack up with, but and then the thing is like at one point there's a milk carton that gets like spilt over or whatever. You see the little boy on the back of the milk carton, like kind of a missing child,
Which little boy didn't really play into the movie at all. Now that I think about it,
not really.
He was just there. There was only one scene where he was pivotal, where she's like, when they're trying to escape the lair, and she's telling Michael, "You got to go back to get him, and then you come back for me." So he had to get the boy out first, and then go backtrack to get her out when Sam and the Frog Brothers were there to stake the vampires and put an end. So that's the only really time he played a pivotal role in the movie. I mean, other than, I don't know. He just didn't really play into the movie.
It was the production company going, all right, damn it. We wanted a little boy in the movie.
We wanted multiple kids in the movie. We had at least have one.
Can we at least have one?
Yeah.
He's just there.
Yeah.
The scene where he basically turns and they're having the final battle in the house. The scene where he turns and the Frog Brothers see him, they start going after him or whatever, and Star grabs him and she's like, "Don't! He's just a little boy." And they kind of just pause and look down, and he's like, It fucking cracks me up every time. So I'm like, they were kind of like, a little boy.
You remember what Feldman said? He's like, "You starting to vamp out. I'm gonna stake you," and shit like that. So that's what the little boy was doing. He's starting to vamp out.
Yeah.
Full vamp.
Funny. What do you think about the booby trapped house?
Oh,
the holy water in the bathtub and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dude, that fucking bathroom was nasty.
Yeah. Well, it just cracked me up when they when they busted into the church and didn't say anything to anybody, and they just started like getting their canteens,
just soaking up holy water.
The people are, because there's like a wedding or something happening, or a baptism.
It was a baptism, yeah.
Going on, and they're just sitting. The people there are just sitting there staring at them, and nothing's ever said. They fill them up, and then they just look like off.
They go to walk out, and they're just like,
yeah, that's it. That's all the acknowledgement that you get. Oh, dude, I was cracking up. There's great moments of comedy in this movie too.
It's subtle, but it's there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But like I said, most of the time you get the Frog Brothers, Grandpa. There's your bit of comedy in the movie, but the Frog Brothers aren't playing it as comedic because they're so stoic and so serious all the fucking time. Like they take all this shit very seriously. And they're trying to convince everybody that they are vampires, and that's what I love about them, man. They take their shit too seriously, and they're so dedicated, and that's what makes it funny. But yeah, they're my favorites, dude. I love the Frog Brothers. There's a reason they made sequels to this movie that they concentrated on the Frog Brothers, because they're out characters in this movie.
It didn't do as good though. Like,
no,
I've watched the sequels, and I'm just honestly not a fan, especially, and not knocking Corey Feldman, but it's like, even like, what was it? I watched the one that came out a few years back where he was like living in a camper or something, and it's like, it's just not. Yeah. and he's still talking the same and acting the same as, what was it, Edgar Frog? Is that his character's name?
Yeah,
or something like that. But I think it's Edgar.
Yeah, there's Edgar. There's an Edgar. And what's the other Frog brother's name? I can't. Damn it! Yeah.
But yeah, he just, it's like, it's just not working for me.
I think his name's Alan. Alan and Edgar Frog. Yeah, Alan.
Okay.
I think it's the other one. If I'm not mistaken.
Named after Edgar Allan Poe?
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that was going to drive me crazy. So I had to no, I've never seen the sequels. I've never seen any sequel to Lost Boys, and I know there's like 2 or 3 of them. I haven't seen not a one, so I don't know. I can't speak on those. I imagine they're really not too good though, just based on the reputation that I've heard. But yeah, it's just I wish they'd make a true sequel, or some sort of tie into the main story.
David's not dead.
Yeah, or something. Well, he gets pretty dead, dude. So, yeah, he really does. That's another reason I like his death scene. When it happens,
it's very sad.
It's sad because like even when he dies, like even his like 5 o'clock shadow disappears and he looks younger when he's dead, and it is really sad. Yeah. The death by stereo, that was fucking amazing. I
love the bathtub death. That thing was gnarly, dude.
And the blood starts shooting out of all the pipes.
Oh my god, the fucking toilet explodes.
Yeah.
That bathroom was fucked.
Yeah, it really
Maybe
is.
that's the reason why the house is inhabitable now.
Yeah, yeah, it could be. Poor Grandpa, man, his house got destroyed.
I really love that whole ending sequence. Like, so pretty much Max is standing there, everything's revealed, at this point. He's kind of upset that his boys are now dead, thanks to Michael and Sam.
He didn't seem too concerned about it though.
Because he was pretty much like, well, we can still have a family. We still got these 2 boys, and we can still have our family. And she's almost like she was kind of like going along with him. You kind of seen that, and then Grandpa shows up out of fucking nowhere. You could already kind of tell Grandpa was up to getting ready for this battle. He knew what was going on, because you've seen him out in like the field or whatever, and he was carving up the tree stumps, as gigantic fucking stakes. So he already knew what was happening.
Which is brilliant as it is. Why the hell wouldn't he tell his family? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to come across as insane, but I mean,
that's spooky Grandpa.
He already seemed insane.
But had he known that there were vampires and stuff like that, maybe he could have told his family, like, hey, I don't know if you guys coming to live with me is the best idea. Maybe we can, maybe we can figure something else out here. I don't know if that would be for the best, but I don't know. We wouldn't have this movie if that were the case, so I'm not complaining. We wouldn't have the magic of all the characters and everything, like the lore. I mean, there's so much stuff that's good that they've experimented with, and like I said, so glad Joel Schumacher was the one that directed this. If it were in anyone else's hands, it would have been terrible based on the original script. So I'm glad he made the tweaks and revisions that he did, and that they were able to go with this story, because it stands the test of time. People talk about this vampire movie today in still high regard, and I think it's more popular, more relevant than Fright Night is. Honestly, but because people, like I said, I've met a lot of people that know more about Lost Boys than they do Fright Night, and that's just fact. When I talk about movies with people, they just definitely bring up Lost Boys a lot, and it's probably because it's accessible. It's on Netflix right now. I mean, it's you can easily. I mean, the movie's pretty cheap. Buy the DVD or whatever. The Blu-ray's cheap. It's a studio Blu-ray, so it's cheaper side. So people have access to it to watch it and stuff like that, and I think that's why it's so relevant and why a lot of people do talk about it. So it's like I said, it's I'm just glad it was in the hands it was in, and that the filmmakers and everybody behind the scenes that are behind the scenes of this movie, that they were the ones in charge, because I think they did a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
End of the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is, like I said, it's one of my favorites. All the way down to everything, storyline, acting is phenomenal, everything. Yeah. I do have a knock.
Do you? I didn't think this was. I didn't think this was going to happen.
There is a knock. Okay, and it actually didn't sit in with me until I watched it. I watched this movie for the review. The scene where the Frog Brothers go to attack the coven of vampires, David and his goons or his boys or whatever.
Yeah.
When they're hanging upside down in that cave. I get the concept. The lore of Dracula turning into a bat. Okay.
Yeah.
But nothing else like these. I mean, you didn't see when they're flying, because you do see them fly eventually, because they're in the final battle. You see Michael and David flying around in the living room of this house or whatever. They don't have fucking wings, you know. So why have bat feet? Why have bat feet? Why? Like, okay, if you're hanging upside down, like why couldn't they have just had them floating upside down, sleeping? I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
But why give them fucking bat feet? Like that right there threw me off so bad.
Bat feet with no bat wings.
Yeah, there was nothing else bat-like about them. Like their ears didn't elongate, nothing.
Well, I think it's cool. I can't really speak to the no bat wings thing, because you're right, you don't see that, which is unfortunate. I mean,
I wouldn't want that. I really like the visual of them kind of just flying around, battling it out in the air in this house. That was cool as shit to me.
No bat feet. I got you.
Just hang them upside down. That's a cool concept.
I do like the fact that it doesn't stick with the stereotype of them in coffins.
That is cool.
It's different. Yeah, it's different. Yeah. Instead of them in coffins, each one in 4 coffins, in the lair, in the back of the lair, in the hidden part of the lair, you have them actually floating it's suspended in the air, and that they're sleeping, which is really neat, and it makes for a cool. I mean, you wouldn't have the cool steak, the heart, and the blood, and all that stuff if they were in a coffin. So that adds to the scene a little bit. I
will say they were kind of like wearing trench coats that kind of wrapped them a little, so it made them look like they were wrapped like bats. You know?
Yeah.
And I get the concept they were going for there, but it just didn't work for me.
Maybe that was the visual they were going for. Sure, absolutely. We didn't talk about the bridge scene, which is another fantastic scene. Okay, we would be remiss if we didn't bring that up. So that they're trying to assimilate Michael into their group and gain the trust and for him to feel like he's free, and that they do whatever they want. They're untouchable. They're this, they that. They can live forever. And so they go on under the bridge for the train, and they hang off the bridge, and the train's going by and it's shaking. So they're holding on for dear life. Well, in Michael's perspective, they're holding on for dear life, but they know that they can fall and float and be fine. But it's such a tense scene, man. It's so cool. The back and forth, the fact that that's going on in the first place, the fact that they're manipulating him, saying, "John, do it, drop." It's just
and then you have David, saying, "Michael, let go, Michael, let go." And I think that's a kind of a subliminal message to Michael, like let go and become a vampire.
Yes, absolutely, 100% agree with that. That's why I love that scene so much.
Yeah,
that is basically him telling him, "Hey, don't hold on to your human traits. Fully commit to what we're offering you," because he's like, "Be one of us. Join us. Be one of us." Even in the lair, he says that. So he's just he likes to play with him a little bit, but he's really telling him, hey, this is the life you want.
Mm-hmm.
This is the life for you. So like, don't, all the reservations, all the stuff that you're thinking about, just let it go. And just join us, and just don't even think about it. So yeah, like I said, very manipulative. These are the like very manipulative vampires, very mind gamed. They really do play tricks on people and really get them to see what they want to see. And even Max says at the end, they're like, I don't understand. They're like, we did the garlic test on you, we did the mirror test, we did all the tests on you, and you passed them all and stuff like that. And I guess when because I wrote that down, I was like, so being invited into someone's house causes the people in the house to become powerless and mind gamed? Question mark? Because I was still kind of fighting with the lore that they were purveying on the for this movie. So I thought about it. I'm like, I guess so. I mean, that's basically what I'm seeing here, because they were doing that with Michael early on, and they were doing that with everybody else. Well, Max was doing that with everybody else. He was completely tricking them into seeing what he wanted them to see. So it's part of the vampire lore. Oh, and Max did have a hound from hell. He had his own hound from hell. Just another little vampire. A little, adds to the lore a little bit too. And that dog went fucking crazy too. And he tried to eat that woman.
Fucking ripped her dress off and shit.
God. And then like, he's like, you could definitely tell she was under his spell, because he's like, oh, you can come by. Thorne says he's sorry and he won't do it again. Like, what woman in their right mind would come back when some dude's dog tried to attack him and eat him? Like, come on. So you could definitely tell he had her very under his spell. So that just adds to it more. Like, the fact that she would go along with that and say, oh yeah, of course. No, nobody in their right mind would do that. Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there. But man,
Max portrays himself off so well as a gentleman.
He does, very manipulative, man.
Even down to like when they're having dinner, and dinner is ruined by all the fucking garlic and shit like that. And she's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's okay. We'll just have to do this some other time. Yeah. And so he portrays himself off as quite a nice guy, quite a gentleman. His effects on his face were a little goofy, though. I will say that they did. Yeah. Look cool. You know what that effect reminded me of? It reminded me of The Mask. The scene where I forget the guy's name, but like the head mob boss puts the mask on. I was like, oh my god, it's uncanny. They look almost identical. It's really strange. Yeah. I can see that. The big cheekbones and the big chin.
Yeah, it looked a little goofy. I wrote that down.
It definitely is weird.
This looks a little goofy.
You only see it for a split second, because then Grandpa comes in with the ginormous fucking steaks. He overdid it with those, but okay.
Hey, it worked. And then I love to stick to Grandpa's character. He goes straight to that refrigerator afterwards and gets him one of his sodas and starts guzzling it. And just stick to his character.
I love that, because they all just kind of followed him into the kitchen like, aren't you mad?
Yeah, what's going on? What are you thinking?
Like, your whole house is fucking destroyed.
We destroyed your house. I mean, he's too, and this is another. He's cool too, because even when they took his car and stole his car, he wasn't pissed about it. Like, they set it up to where he's like, no, I don't get my car close to town, because they set it up to where he really cares about this car. He doesn't want it touched. You better not fuck with his car. This, and that. And then one of the coolest lines from him in the movie is like, hey, he's like, when they come back with the car and all that shit, he's like, hey, did I tell you the rule about putting gas in the car when you take the car out? And they're like, no, Grandpa, you didn't. He's like, well, that's one of the rules. And then he walks away.
Yeah, he's like, well, now you know.
Well, now you know. He's like, he wasn't even pissed about them taking his car.
No.
He's just so cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then the whole funny situation about all of that, like when they're like, so you got Michael, who's like practically weak as hell. You can tell he's weak, and then the Frog Brothers, and they're just all fucking covered in the sparkly blood and shit. And then they got like this little kid and this woman with them, and they're carrying him into the house, and he's like, "Hey, you know the rule about my car, right?" And they were like, "No." And he was like, "Top off the gas when you take it out." And they were like, "Sorry, we didn't know that." And he's like, "Well, now you do."
No. Well, now you do.
He's
He
not
didn't
concerned about all the people that is coming into his house and
All the
nothing.
random people that are getting snuck into his house. He doesn't give a shit about it.
Oh,
Not one word. Just, I don't know. He's completely oblivious. He knows what's going on, I guess.
oh yeah, he definitely knows what's going on. Like I
Oh.
said, you could see him making the steaks and stuff. He was getting ready. He knew what was coming. You know, during the fight, he knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I love that last line from him. He's like, they followed him into the kitchen. He slams down that cola, and he's like, "One thing I always hated about Santa Carla, all the damn vampires."
And then the movie ends.
Yeah,
It's a great way for the movie to end.
it really is. Oh man. Yeah, I always kind of wondered like what happened. Like, did they because now the little boy's no longer a vampire. So did they return him back to his home?
Yeah. Oh,
What
sure.
happened? What happened to the kid? I got to
sure.
know what happened to the kid. This is a fun movie. I love this movie. Yeah, I think I covered all my notes. One of the notes I did write down was actually from the credits.
Hmm.
So as the credits were rolling, I was just glancing through them. And you know how you just find random ass credits that you normally wouldn't see, and you're just like, what the fuck? Why is that there? They had Surf Nazi 1, 2, and 3.
Surf Nazi.
What? Surf Nazi. I kid you not. It said it in the credits. I was like, what? I didn't see
funny.
Nazis on surfboards, but okay.
It's funny you say that because Surf Nazis Must Die just got a Blu-ray release or a Blu-ray 4K release. We got a new release. It just got announced not too long ago, so that's funny.
That's really funny.
You bring that up. Maybe we're in a surf Nazi resurgence. I don't know. They need to make more movies about surf Nazis, I guess.
Yeah, I was just glancing and I was like, surf Nazis, what the fuck?
No, I don't want to get us canned, man. I don't want that to come across as bad. The movie Surf Nazis Must Die is actually pretty fun.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's good. Trauma. Trauma's fun.
Gotta love Trauma.
You gotta love Trauma.
You know what you're getting into.
Absolutely.
That title honestly does not cease to amaze me.
Well, Trauma is one of those. Another thing about Trauma is when the logo pops up and that music plays, it feels so warm and inviting to me. I'm so used to that, and I love it. One of my favorite opening credits for any company is Trauma. That doom.
I always like the quick little pop up that
That
what's his
Lloyd
name?
does?
Yeah. Or usually he's got like some half naked chicks like sitting with him, and yeah.
Or Debbie Rochon, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love how they cut it out to where it says the name of the movie when they're I love that gag. He's the best, man.
He really is. Lloyd Kaufman.
But I agree with you, man. This movie is fun. It's a blast. To be honest with you, from beginning to end. I mean, there's no slow time. There's no, dragging moments. It's fun.
Really not.
No, it is. It is. And I always kind of thought like this movie is more. It feels more like a Spielberg movie where it's upbeat and a little bit. There's a. You're going to get a happy ending and this and that, but no, it doesn't feel. It doesn't have that stigma of like a studio Spielberg kind of thing. It really does feel like its own, and it feels like Joel Schumacher's vision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's the direction that they wanted to take it. I'm sure there's still resonance in it with the script. I mean, you still have the script. It's been revised and whatnot, but you still have that feeling. But Joel Schumacher made this movie his own with the way he's like, I want to take a gang of vampires who are older kids. They're not like preteens, and I want to turn them. I want to make them cool, and I want to make them enticing, and I want this to be enticing for one of our leads to actually give in to the temptation and become a vampire, and it just works so amazingly. One more scene I did want to talk about was the scene where Sam's in the bathtub taking his bubble bath, and Michael is fighting the urge to attack him.
Yeah.
And I love the dog. The dog's name is Nanook, I think.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Nanook. He's like a husky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he attacks Michael at the door, and when he lunges at him, it's the funniest fucking thing I ever. I just crack up when the dog jumps on him and takes him out. It's so good. But he's a cool dog, man, because he protects Sam. He's very protective. Want anything to happen to him, so it's a neat little moment.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, very genuine and caring friendship and stuff like that. Him and this dog. It's his dog, so he's protective of his owner. So I love little moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, man. That's your brother, and he's fighting the urge, and he was gonna attack him and possibly hurt him. So that's really scary. I mean, even your own brother, he resists the urge to to feed and stuff like that. So
I think honestly, if that dog wasn't there, then he probably would have.
Yeah, he would have attacked him.
Yeah,
but had a different movie completely. I mean, he would have turned fully into a vampire. His brother would have been drained, and it's been a whole different movie. So little moments can carry it a long way. I mean, that's what happened.
That's the brilliance of this film and the production side and the writing side of this film. Everything's placed, well put.
Agree.
Yeah. So, you ready to get down to star ratings?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's time.
I'm curious to know what yours is.
You know what, dude? You want to know mine now?
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like I said, I think the opening. I said it before. I'll say it again. I think the opening to this film is brilliant. I think it's one of the best openings ever to any film. So I mean, and like I said, it doesn't drag. It doesn't. I love that they play with the vampire lore a little bit and make it their own. We've talked a couple times. I've brought up a couple times. I love the set design, the costume designs, and we never talk about that kind of stuff in our discussions and stuff like that. But it's poignant in this movie because the vampires have their own look and their own style, and the fact that you have a gang of vampires instead of like one central vampire that's the lead, the focus of the narrative is really cool. I love that they play with that. Like I said, the setting, Santa Clara, all the locations that are shot, the acting is really, really solid. Like you said, man, it's phenomenal. The lead, Michael, is good. The Coreys are always great. I mean, you can't go wrong with them. Diane Wiest is the mom, is great. The grandpa's fun. The Frog Brothers kill it. They bring it all the time. They're so stern, and I love it. So focused, and even all of David's good lackeys and stuff like that in his gang are really good. The scene where they attack the surfers and I guess that's where that would technically be the surf Nazis, because
maybe
they attack the surfers and kill them and stuff like that to feed on them, because one of them was like a skinhead, because they were going to shoot a scene where David eats the back of his head and shit like that, but it was too graphic, so they had to cut back on it. So that might be where the surf Nazis came into play. But the scene's really crazy because they're sitting there waiting and salivating, and they can't wait for their meal and stuff like that. And they're pushing Michael to attack too. It's a great scene, a tense scene. But yeah, this movie's flawless, man. It's brilliant, dude. It's brilliant. I cannot give it a 5 out of 5. I can't. It deserves it. Like I said, I'm a Fright Night guy, but that's not taking anything away from this movie's brilliance. It is. It deserves a 5 out of 5. So it's going to get a 5 out of 5 for me. Yeah. It deserves it.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you. Everything about this film, of course, the bat feet I can do without, but that's one little thing, one little detail. This overall, this whole film, it's just fun. Like you said, characters. I couldn't have picked a better cast to cast, for this film. That cast is on point.
Yep, on point.
100%. And the actors bring it. All the actors never once did I feel that something was kind of ad lib or made up in the moment. Nothing like that. It felt very solid. The acting was very solid. The script, the way this film was written, even like the sparkly blood, you don't get the actual blood, you get sparkly blood, but it works for this film because, in my opinion, the vampires, yes, they are they are these rough punk kids, but at the same time, there's something glam about them, and it really is. So, it's, I don't know, even down to the atmosphere. The atmosphere, there's a huge atmosphere in this film. There's
Right.
there's foggy moments. There, the moments on the cliff and stuff. Yeah, it's very coastal. It feels very coastal, and it resonates with me because like I said, I grew up. I was kind of a beach bum my early years. So it kind of resonates with me a little bit. So yeah, 5.
I agree, man. It like I said, this movie is a classic. It deserves its status as a 5 out of 5. A damn brilliant vampire film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Fright Night and Lost Boys are 2 of the best '80s vampire films ever. I mean, there's competition. You got Near Dark, you got Vamp, you got other movies, but these 2 are like upper echelon, man. You can't touch them. Like they twisted, especially this one, twisted the vampire lore in such a different direction than that we were used to. Because I know Fright Night was paying tribute to the Hammer stuff, and I think that's why Fright Night resonates with me more because I'm such a fan of Hammer horror and Hammer Dracula stuff. Christopher Lee is my favorite Dracula, so that's why it resonates with me more because they're paying homage to that and everything there is to do about that. So maybe that's why it draws me in more. But this movie is still brilliant. And it deserves its kudos and it deserves its credit. So, and I'm going to give it the credit and kudos it deserves.
Yeah.
So.
Right on. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. Well, cool, man.
That's it, man. Finished Lost Boys.
Finished it. Yeah.
Ready to land the plane.
All right. Well, folks, we appreciate you watching our review on Lost Boys from 1987. We hope we didn't ruin anything for you. We hope that you stopped and watched the movie before going into this review. If you haven't watched it, still recommend you watch it because it's just a fun film. Yep. All around, hands down, best one of my favorite 80s films I've seen. But yeah, with that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you head over to our Facebook group and throw a suggestion out there. We're going to be doing our suggestion episode next. Tony, you got anything you want to add to that?
No. Like I said, just get your submissions in if you can, because we'd love to see what you guys think we should cover on the suggestion episode. Like I said, it's going to be fun seeing what everyone throws out there. It always is, man. I always have fun on the suggestions because I love seeing what everybody brings to the table. People have great suggestions, man.
We've got some good suggestions already on there.
They're so good, man, and I'm so happy that we're getting the feedback from everybody that we are. So kudos to you guys out there in the group and all the listeners. Thank you guys for going along on this journey with us and helping us out on the journey. It really, really, really feels amazing, and we love doing it because we love getting it out there for you guys to hear and that's why the group is so important too, because you get into the discussion with us and like I said, it's so cool having that interaction with the people listening to the show, and the listeners are fantastic. I can't say enough about them. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yep. Thank you guys. Well, with that, later.